You went to bed just fine. Maybe you had dinner with friends, maybe a small glass of wine. Everything felt normal. Then suddenly you wake up in the middle of the night and your toe is on fire. You can't walk. You can't think. You're in pain so sharp it feels like someone slammed your foot with a hammer. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Gout can strike without warning. One day you're on top of your schedule. The next you're canceling appointments, missing work, and lying in bed, hoping the pain lets you sleep. And for many, that cycle keeps repeating. Here's what's worse. Most people are told the same outdated advice: cut meat, avoid protein, drink more water, but they still suffer. Why? Because the real problem isn't just about meat. It's about sugar, insulin, kidney overload, and years of silent damage. What if I told you that thousands of people have reversed their gout, not by avoiding steak, but by cutting out the very foods they were told were safe? What if cherry juice really works, but only if you use it the right way? What if everything you've been told about gout is half true and half dangerous? In this video, I'll show you 7 foods that can help lower your uric acid naturally and 7 that may be quietly destroying your joints every day. We'll break it all down with real science, real numbers, and real stories. So if you've ever cried from gout pain, or you're tired of doing everything right and still hurting, stay with me, because we're starting now. Most people think gout is all about eating too much meat. That's the first myth we have to break, because if it were that simple, why do so many people who follow all the right advice, still get gout attacks? Gout isn't just about meat. It's about uric acid. And uric acid isn't some poison from the outside. Your own body makes it every single day. Uric acid is a natural waste product, something your kidneys are supposed to filter out. But when your kidneys get overwhelmed by dehydration, by too much sugar, by metabolic issues, it builds up slowly, quietly, until one day it crystallizes. Imagine pouring sugar into a cold glass of water. At first it dissolves, but add too much and it starts to settle at the bottom, forming sharp grains. That's what happens in your joints, especially the cold ones, like your big toe. The uric acid forms microscopic crystals, and those crystals slice up your cartilage like glass. That's why gout pain feels so sudden and so sharp. But here's the second big myth. If you're overweight, that's the only reason. Not true. We've seen gout in thin people, fit people, even in marathon runners. Because it's not just about size, it's about what's happening inside. How your body handles what you eat, how your kidneys filter waste, and how your blood carries toxins away. Here's another problem. Many people are misdiagnosed. They're told it's gout when it's really arthritis, or tendinitis, or capsulitis. Real gout has a signature: one-sided, explosive pain that comes out of nowhere and peaks fast. It's not the kind of pain that builds over days. It's a 0 to 10 situation in just hours. So if you've been living with joint pain that doesn't quite follow that pattern, it might not be gout at all. Understanding what gout truly is and what it isn't is the first step toward real relief. Because once you know the real cause, the solution starts to make sense. Let's talk about what you can eat, because it's easy to focus on the foods to avoid. But if you really want to lower your uric acid and stop flare-ups, the right foods can make all the difference. Not just in theory, this is based on real studies, real numbers, and real results. 1. Cherries, the gout fighter. Cherries aren't just a folk remedy. A 2012 study published in Arthritis and Rheumatism followed over 600 people with gout. They found that eating cherries or cherry extract reduced the risk of a gout flare by 35%. And when paired with medication like allopurinol, that number jumped to 70%. That's not a typo. That's real data. Tart cherries, in particular, are rich in anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that fight inflammation and support healthy uric acid levels. So whether it's fresh cherries, tart cherry juice, or even cherry concentrate capsules, they're more than a sweet snack, they're a daily defense. 2. Vitamin C-rich foods. You've probably heard about vitamin C for immune health, but did you know it helps reduce uric acid too? One large study, nearly 47,000 men followed for 20 years, found that those who consumed at least 1,500 milliliters of vitamin C per day had a 45% lower risk of developing gout. Another controlled trial showed that even just 500 milliliters a day reduced uric acid by about zero point 0.5 milliliter DL. So eat more oranges, bell peppers, broccoli, and strawberries. And yes, a good quality supplement can help too. 3. Low-fat dairy products. Now I know dairy can be confusing. Some people swear by it, others say it's terrible. But the research is pretty clear here. Low-fat milk and yogurt may help reduce uric acid levels and protect against gout attacks. The reason? They contain uric acid, which helps excrete uric acid through the kidneys. If you can tolerate dairy, low-fat or fermented options like kefir and plain yogurt are great choices, but skip the sugary versions. 4. Leafy greens, but not all. Vegetables like kale, romaine lettuce, and broccoli are high in fiber, vitamin K, and vitamin C. They're also low in purines. That's the good combo. Now, you may have heard spinach and asparagus are bad for gout. Here's the truth. Yes, they contain purines, but they're plant purines, which are processed differently than animal purines. Unless you're extremely sensitive, they're unlikely to trigger flares. Still, if spinach seems to trigger you personally, skip it. But don't fear veggies in general. They're your ally. 5. High-fiber foods. Whole grains like oats, quinoa, and barley are excellent for stabilizing blood sugar and improving kidney function. Why does that matter? Because when blood sugar spikes, insulin rises, and that makes it harder for your kidneys to excrete uric acid. Fiber slows digestion, reduces inflammation, and gives your kidneys a fighting chance. Instead of sugary cereal, try oatmeal with berries. Instead of white rice, go for quinoa. Little swaps, big results. 6. Berries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. These little fruits pack a punch. They're loaded with polyphenols and vitamin C, both of which help reduce inflammation and oxidative stress. One study in the Journal of Nutrients found that berries can lower the risk of gout-related inflammation, especially when eaten regularly. They're also low glycemic, meaning they don't spike your blood sugar the way bananas or mangoes might. 7. Water, water, and more water. This one sounds simple, but it might be the most powerful. Your kidneys are the gatekeepers. If you're dehydrated, they can't flush out uric acid. It builds up, settles, and turns into pain. Multiple studies confirm it. Drinking more water lowers the risk of gout attacks. Aim for at least 8 to 10 glasses a day. More if you're active, live in a hot climate, or drink alcohol. Try the 1-for-1 rule. For every alcoholic drink, have a full glass of water. Better yet, make it 2. Hydration is your hidden weapon. When you combine these 7, cherries, vitamin C, dairy, leafy greens, fiber, berries, and water, you're not just avoiding pain. You're building a lifestyle that supports your kidneys, calms inflammation, and helps your body naturally lower uric acid. Because instead of cutting out everything, what if you just added in the right things? Now let's look at the other side of the coin. The foods that quietly but powerfully trigger gout. You may be avoiding the obvious ones, but some of these might surprise you. Let's break them down, one by one. 1. Organ meats, a purine bomb. Liver, kidneys, sweetbreads. They may be high in nutrients, but they're also sky high in purines. Remember, purines are broken down into uric acid. And organ meats contain some of the highest levels you can find in any food. In fact, the Journal of Arthritis and Rheumatology confirmed that frequent consumption of organ meats significantly increases the risk of gout attacks. Even small amounts can overwhelm a vulnerable system. If you've ever enjoyed liver and onions and woken up the next day with toe pain, you're not imagining it. 2. Sugary drinks and fruit juices. Here's a shocker. It's not the meat, it's the sugar. Soft drinks, sports drinks, bottled juices, even ones labeled 100% juice, are loaded with fructose. And fructose is the only sugar that increases uric acid production in the liver. Why? Because when fructose hits your liver, it uses up ATP, your energy currency, and creates uric acid as a byproduct. That's why drinks sweetened with fructose are gout triggers, even without alcohol. A 2008 study showed that men who drank just 2 sugary sodas per day had an 85% higher risk of developing gout than those who didn't. Instead of fruit juice, try eating the whole fruit. Instead of soda, drink water, herbal teas, or sparkling water with lemon. 3. Refined carbs, white bread, pasta, rice. These are sneaky. They don't contain purines, but they spike your blood sugar fast. And when your blood sugar spikes, so does your insulin. Elevated insulin levels reduce your kidney's ability to excrete uric acid. So while white rice and pasta might seem safe, they can actually raise uric acid by slowing down your body's ability to clear it. Choose whole grains, high-fiber alternatives, or swap rice for quinoa, pasta for lentil noodles, bread for sprouted or sourdough options. 4. Alcohol, especially beer. Most gout attacks come after a night of celebration. A few drinks, some rich food, and then, bam, you're out of commission. Why does alcohol hit so hard? First, it's dehydrating. Second, it increases purine breakdown. Third, it raises lactic acid, which competes with uric acid for excretion in the kidneys. Beer is the worst offender because it contains both purines and alcohol, but wine and liquor aren't guilt-free either. That's why hydration matters. Follow the 1.1 or 1.2 rule. 1 glass of alcohol, 1 or 2 full glasses of water, every time. 5. Fried and processed foods. Here's where things get ugly. Fast food, frozen meals, chips, processed meats. These are packed with trans fats, high sodium, and refined carbs, all of which increase inflammation and worsen kidney function. The Journal of Rheumatology has shown that high-sodium diets worsen uric acid retention, especially in people with prediabetes or hypertension. Instead of frying food, try baking, roasting, or steaming. Instead of processed snacks, choose whole food options with fewer ingredients and no added sugars. 6. Certain seafood, shrimp, crab, lobster. Now, seafood isn't all bad, but some types are high in purines, especially shellfish, shrimp, lobster, crab, mussels. These can trigger flares in people prone to gout. On the other hand, cold water fish like salmon and sardines are rich in omega-3s, which actually reduce inflammation. So it's not avoid all seafood, it's choose the right seafood. 7. Spinach, asparagus, and high oxalate veggies, maybe. Now this one is controversial. Spinach and asparagus are often called gout triggers because they contain moderate purines and high oxalates. But here's the truth. Purines from vegetables don't behave the same way as animal purines. Most studies show that plant-based purines don't raise uric acid as significantly. Still, some people in our comments swear spinach causes flare-ups. If that's you, trust your body. This is where individual sensitivity matters. Your body's reaction matters more than a chart. So instead of just following a one-size-fits-all list, think about how these foods affect you. Maybe it's not about cutting everything out. Maybe it's about cutting out the right things. Because the truth is, not all meat is the enemy, not all vegetables are safe, and not all sugars are equal. Knowing the difference is what protects your joints. If you've spent any time reading the comments on gout videos, you've probably seen something surprising. I switched to a carnivore diet and my gout disappeared. Wait, what? How can eating more meat help with gout when every doctor says to avoid it? Here's the truth. It's not about the meat. It's about what the carnivore diet eliminates. See, when people go carnivore, they're not just eating steak. They're cutting out sugar. They're cutting out processed carbs. No cookies, no soda, no bread, no beer, just meat, water, and salt. And that matters more than you think because sugar and refined carbohydrates spike insulin, and high insulin levels impair kidney function, reducing your ability to get rid of uric acid. When you take sugar out of the equation, your kidneys get a break. Your inflammation drops, your uric acid stabilizes. So in some people, especially those who are insulin resistant or have metabolic syndrome, the carnivore diet works not because of the meat, but because they've removed the real triggers. Does that mean everyone should go full carnivore? Not necessarily. If you have kidney disease, high blood pressure, or certain nutrient deficiencies, a pure meat diet could create new problems. And it's not for everyone. But what we can learn from it is this. Sometimes meat isn't the issue. Sometimes it's the bread next to it, or the sweet tea, or the dessert after. So instead of blaming protein, we need to look at the full picture. What are you eating with that protein? What's overloading your kidneys? What's spiking your insulin? It's not about following a trendy diet. It's about reducing the toxic load on your system and giving your body the chance to heal. Here's something no one tells you. Most people diagnosed with gout don't actually have gout. It sounds crazy, but it's true. Real gout has a very distinct pattern. The pain doesn't sneak up. It slams down, fast. You go from feeling fine to completely crippled in just a few hours. Your big toe swells, turns red, feels hot. The skin might look shiny. You can't even let a bed sheet touch it. That's classic gout. But many people are told they have gout when what they actually have is something else. Osteoarthritis, tendonitis, capsulitis, even neuropathy. The difference matters because the treatment is completely different. Treating arthritis like gout, you'll make it worse. Treating nerve pain like gout, you'll waste time and money. So how do you know? Start with the story. Was the pain sudden, one-sided? Did it peak within 24 hours? Next, lab work. Uric acid levels can help, but they aren't always reliable. Levels may drop after a flare, which leads to confusion. That's why some people need imaging, an X-ray, ultrasound, or even a joint aspiration to confirm the diagnosis. Don't skip this step. Guessing wrong leads to years of pain. So if your symptoms don't quite fit the gout profile, or if treatments haven't worked, ask your doctor to reevaluate. Because when you know exactly what you're dealing with, the path forward becomes a lot clearer. Let's be honest. When a real gout attack hits, no amount of cherry juice or vitamin C is going to stop it in its tracks. That's where medication comes in. The goal isn't to live on pills, but if you're someone who gets severe, sudden flare-ups, having the right medication on hand can make the difference between 10 days of agony or 2 days of control. So what works? Colchicine is one of the most effective drugs for early flare control. Taken at the first sign of a flare, it can reduce inflammation and pain dramatically. But timing is key. Too late and its power drops off. NSAIDs like naproxen or indomethacin also help, especially in the first 24-48 hours. If your stomach can tolerate them, they're a great option for short-term use. Steroid dose packs, like a Medrol pack, are often used when colchicine or NSAIDs aren't possible. They reduce inflammation systemically, but need to be used carefully. And for long-term control, allopurinol or febuxostat may be prescribed to reduce uric acid levels permanently. But here's the warning. Don't start these during an active flare. That can make it worse. Instead, wait until things calm down, then start under medical supervision. Most importantly, always combine medication with lifestyle. Don't just pop a pill and keep drinking soda. Because while medication can manage pain, only your daily habits will stop gout from coming back again. Here's the part that most people don't realize. Gout isn't just about your toe. It's not just about missing a day of work or limping for a week. Left unchecked, gout can destroy your joints. It can erode your bones, deform your feet, and lead to permanent arthritis. And that's just the beginning. High uric acid is linked to kidney damage. It's linked to heart disease. It's a warning sign that your body is overloaded and crying out for help. But here's the good news. You're not powerless. When you understand what gout really is and what's really triggering it, you can fight back, not just with medication, but with food, with hydration, with better habits. You can learn what your body responds to. You can stop living in fear of the next attack because gout isn't random. It's predictable. It's preventable. And in many cases, it's reversible. You just have to know where to look and what to change. And now, you do. If this video helped you see gout in a new way, imagine what your life could look like 30 days from now. Less pain, more energy, more freedom. But don't stop here. We've created a complete 7-day meal plan designed specifically for people with gout. It's practical, it's based on science, and yes, it's full of foods you'll actually enjoy. You'll find the link below, or just click the next video on your screen. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because we're not just talking about gout. We're helping real people change real lives, one step at a time. So whether you're managing your first flare or you've been battling gout for years, you don't have to do it alone. We're with you every step of the way.